If you're sick of the mainstream sports outlets, well, so was I. So I started my own show. I'm Shane Larson, and this is the Game Time Guru. It's different than other talk shows. I'm providing a panoramic view on sports so you can see them through a different lens. So buckle up, and let's go. What's up, everyone? Welcome out to this bonus episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. I'm coming at you on a Monday morning, right after the NBA Finals have wrapped up for Games 1 and 2, and they're heading back to the Bay Area, tied 1-1. I want to give you my reaction today on the show. Make sure that you share this with your friends and family. These bonus episodes are only for subscribers to the show, meaning, you know, if the only way you're going to see them is if you're subscribed to the show, or if you randomly come across the show when you're searching something on either on social media, or if you're searching on a Google search or something. But typically you're going to get notified if a new episode pushes out, and I wanted to give you guys my thoughts. I had to take some time to kind of recap this before I gave an analysis of the games, because it was kind of a surprising first two games of the series. Starting in Toronto. First things first, I had forgotten, like I said before, that Toronto actually had home court advantage. So that was the first thing. It was just I just felt like it was a weird setup coming into game one. Like the Warriors had a long time off, and we didn't really hear from them in the media while they were preparing for the NBA Finals, and they were playing a new opponent. It was a new team in the Finals. It wasn't the Cavs anymore. It was just a different setup, obviously, and going into game one, I just wasn't sure what to expect, and I thought if Toronto was able to steal game one, then they would be able to kind of make this a series and get some momentum going. And it's weird saying the word steal. Like, I keep saying that. Like, the word steal is typically when you're on the road, but, you know, they're an underdog. Toronto's an underdog at home, and any game they can win is a steal. What I realized in game one was that Toronto is extremely deep when it comes to their depth and their players that can contribute at a high level. Gasol played well. Siakam played well. Obviously, Kawhi got his, but it took him a while to get going. So those other players stepped up. Van Fleet's been playing solid for the second half of the playoffs all the way up until now. And you see how good they really are and how aggressive they truly are. And Toronto came out and they got physical. They were aggressive, and they were not scared of the moment. All of the momentum that they had going into that game came through. They made their open shots, and they were able to take game one. And I thought a couple of things in game one. I'm like, hey, everyone's saying, well, maybe we underestimated the importance of Kevin Durant for the Warriors. And while Kevin Durant does give you an additional scorer, and he's arguably the best player in the world, he does kind of mess up the pace of the game sometimes, just because of his style of play, and that's fine. That's just how he is. It doesn't mean he makes them worse. It just their pace kind of slows down a little bit. I wouldn't say they're easier to defend, but they are easier to defend off the ball when KD's got the ball in his hands, because you're not moving. It gives you a little bit, like it gives the off-ball defenders a second to rest, and that's how it's always been with KD. You saw it with the Cavs last year. Their off-ball defenders can rest a little bit, because the dudes aren't always running around every single possession, because, when the offense runs through KD, it kind of slows down a little bit. So here's the deal. We thought that. Everyone's talking about, well, KD needs to be in there, this and this and this. I thought after game one, I'm like, hey, I don't think KD's necessarily the issue here. I think the Warriors needed to, one, wake up. Two, they needed to adapt to the new style of play, because this is Toronto. It's just a new opponent. It's a new atmosphere, different setting. You've got a lot of emotion with Drake on the sideline, stuff like that, those little factors that kind of come into it. And I think they were just kind of off their rhythm a little bit, and they needed to regroup. I was on record stating that I thought Boogie should not play, and I will eat my words right now, but I'm also going to say this. I thought Looney was a better pick-and-roll player. He had his rhythm going throughout the entire throughout the entire playoffs, and I thought Boogie came in there and slowed him down in game one. And that's how Toronto took it. I thought that Toronto stepped up to the moment, and they took advantage of everything, and I was like, okay, well, if Kerr's going to make any adjustments, I don't think they're going to be major adjustments, but I think that he should sit Boogie. Well, as of yesterday, he starts Boogie, completely contrary to what I thought was going to happen, but I see exactly what he was doing. Boogie came off the bench in game one, and that was like the first time he's come off the bench in a very long time. I think they had stated it was a couple of years that he hadn't played off the bench before, so his rhythm was gone. He started Boogie, and although Boogie didn't do anything except for pick up 2 quick fouls in the first quarter, it got them in a rhythm. Some people like starting the game because it just gets them in the flow of the game and they get their mind right quicker. And so they don't have to take so long to actually adapt to the game. Well, I think that was a genius move by Kerr. Kerr didn't know Looney was going to go down and get hurt, but Kerr knew that for Boogie, he needed to have him actually start the game and get in the rhythm to play. It was a genius move, and this is why I think Steve Kerr is an elite coach. Everyone says, well, he's been gifted with an elite team. Well, that's true, but elite coaches have to be able to coach elite teams because you have so many different personalities and you have to get those guys to mesh, and he's done a great job at that. He made a minor adjustment by starting Boogie Cousins, and then when Looney went down, Cousins was ready for the moment. Now, I don't think Cousins, everyone's like looking at him, oh, he was the X factor. No, he wasn't. He did a great job, though, with his assists. That's what he did. Like, you expect Cousins at his size to get 10-plus rebounds a game. Like, that shouldn't even be when you see 10 rebounds a game, like, that's a given. Like, he's 7 feet tall almost. Like, and he's a big dude. He should be getting 10 rebounds. The ball just falls into his hands half the time. It's not like he's fighting for every one of those. You know what I mean? So, but what I looked at was the assists. And, yeah, he didn't have 10 assists, but there was a stretch where 3 of his assists were great passes where the guy cut into the basket was defended well, especially one with Klay Thompson rolling through. He was well defended, but Boogie made a sweet pass. Klay finished it with the left hand on the left side of the basket and ended up, keeping the momentum going. That was during their third quarter run. So 3 of those assists that he had were like during the momentum building run, and they were crazy for them. So big time move by Kerr by starting Cousins because I believe he got his mind right to start the game. That was a big deal for me. I thought that was a huge move, and people didn't really look at it that way. But I looked at that Boogie starting the game, even with 2 quick fouls. I thought that was a genius move because he was able to come in and contribute right after Looney got hurt. So you see, though, like after game 2 goes in, here's what I wanted to talk about game 2. The Warriors are known for their third quarter runs that they go on. That's what they're known for. Halftime adjustments and then their third quarter. The third quarter, they always come out on fire. Ask the Blazers. Ask the Portland Trail Blazers about the Warriors' third quarter runs. And in game 1 of the finals, we were expecting that to happen, but the Raptors came out firing too. And they just kept matching them bucket for bucket, and they kept going possession for possession so that the Warriors couldn't gain that momentum. But yesterday in game 2, the Warriors came out on fire. And I thought the Raptors did a great job utilizing their timeouts properly. They called 2 timeouts during that run to try to slow it down, but they just could not hit their shots. Obviously, the Warriors were all over the place. During that, like the defense is what turned those into buckets, and they went on that run to completely swing the game. And Toronto was having a hard time getting, open looks, but when they did get open looks, they weren't hitting them. That was the difference. Game 1, they hit their open looks. Game 2, they didn't. I think they were a little rushed. They felt the pressure. Golden State went on that run, and there was a little bit of nerves involved. Like they got that pressure going on, that anxiety during that run, and they weren't able to hit their open looks when they got them. And so Golden State just continued to roll and roll and roll. Well, you see, though, like most teams crumble after those runs go on. What I did notice was, like, obviously Golden State is Golden State. They're amazing. This is their 5th finals appearance. Like, this is just insane, guys. Like, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is like, it's unreal how good this team is. Like, we expect them to be good, but Toronto surprised me again. And I mean this because they surprised me by, they took that run, and a lot of teams will crumble after that, but they chipped away at it the entire rest of the third quarter, throughout the entire fourth quarter. And there was like a minute and a half left, and they were down by 8. But Toronto's defense changed up and caused Golden State to kind of be stagnant for the last 5 minutes of that game. And they gave themselves a shot to be able to be in that game. And even with a minute and a half left, down by 8 against the Warriors, most teams would just crumble and be like, okay, we're done. But they kept fighting, and they actually gave themselves a chance down by 2 with 26 seconds left in the game to come back and actually have a shot at it. And I honestly believe, I don't think there was anything wrong with what the Raptors did, minus they should have fouled Draymond Green when he had the ball in his hands at the end of the game. But if they weren't going to foul, I thought they did the exact thing that they needed to do. They almost caused Steph Curry to have a turnover because they tried to double him and he panicked and he almost lost the dribble. They almost stole it when he threw it over to Livingston because Kawhi got his hands on the ball. Livingston just made a better play coming to the ball. And they left the guy open that they were supposed to leave open. Like, it's not a disrespect to Iggy. It's not. Iggy was... you got to pick your poison with the with the Warriors, and they left Iggy open because they were trying to get everybody else. And if they're going to leave anyone open for a three, like, obviously he's hit big-time shots. He's the veteran. That's why I thought, like, he was a big piece to their success. But, like, dude, if you're going to leave someone open, that would probably be the guy, and that's what they did. And he shot it, and he ended up making it. But, like, in my opinion, that's probably what you wanted to have happen. And that's why everybody went down and tried to get a rebound. They thought the ball might go off because you're just not sure with Iggy. When Steph shoots the ball, you expect it to go in. When Iggy shoots the ball, you're not 100% sure, right? So at least they got the ball into someone's hands that they thought had at least a 50-50 chance of missing. So it's crazy that Toronto battled back in that game, guys. I thought that was just insane. So everyone's like, oh, I expect game 3. I heard a lot of people on Twitter, 3 is going to be a blowout. The Warriors found their momentum. I'm like, that's what everybody expects because they're going back home, and that's easy to do. But Toronto has surprised me the first 2 games of this series with how deep they are and how mentally tough they are. They came back after a crazy run that the Warriors had, and they made it a game. They were down 2 with under 20 seconds. Well, they were down 2 with like 5 seconds left to go in the game until Iggy hit a 3. So, like, they were right there in striking distance, and they were even up in this game by 12. So that's what I'm saying. Toronto can match with Golden State as they are slotted right now. And so I'm excited to see how this series pans out. Even if KD comes back, that's obviously going to change things up a bit. It's going to make the series even better. It's the first 2 games were really exciting. It's like a chess match, and you still don't fully understand yet, like, how it's going to be, because is KD going to come back? What about Klay? Is his hamstring going to be okay for game 3? It's crazy. But one last takeaway is the fact that Golden State is so deep. They're dealing this year with things that they haven't dealt with in the past. They're dealing with things like injuries all across the board that they haven't really had to deal with in the past. That's what their opponents have had to deal with, but they really haven't been faced with that adversity. They got KD going down, and then they got Looney just went down, and then Klay hurts his hamstring, and Iggy hurt his calf in the first game, and like all these little minor nagging injuries they're dealing with. And they're still so deep on that roster. Cook can shoot the ball. McKinney. And then you look at Boogie come out, and he can contribute. And you see Iggy starting to shoot. And Livingston's obviously there. Like, you just see how many weapons they truly have. Golden State is unbelievably talented. I'm excited to see what games 3 and 4 bring us when they move back to the Bay Area. We'll see if Toronto can steal back home court advantage by at least taking one on the road. I think it's going to be a close game every game. I think both teams are going to compete, which is what makes for a great NBA Finals. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.